welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show off a couple of Inzektor combos. One's going to be a pure Inzektor combo and the other is going to be an Inzektor Metalfoe combo. Quickly to go through the list. By no means do I think this is a very good list. I think this is just like, it's still a list I've been playing around with. I don't think it's like optimized or anything like that. But it's a good basis for you to build off of if you are interested in playing Inzektor or Inzektor Metalfoe. I'll quickly go through some of the main cards in here just so you understand what everything does. So the first thing you have to understand about Inzektors is they all basically have the same effect. When they're on the field, once per turn, they can equip a Inzektor monster from the hand or the graveyard to themselves, and then some of them get additional effects when an equip card equipped to them leaves the field. So Inzektor Centipede can equip a monster, and then if that monster leaves, you get to search for a Inzektor card. Dragonfly does the same thing, except it special summons an Inzektor monster from the deck. Gigamantis and Gigaweevil both have the same effect, where they can equip themselves from the hand to an Inzektor monster you control, and if they leave that monster, they get to special summon a Inzektor monster from the graveyard. Weevil can summon itself, Gigamantis can't, but that doesn't really tend to come up that often, because you're normally just summoning back Dragonflies and Centipedes to extend further. We're playing 3 Hornet and 3 Ladybug. Both of these monsters allow themselves to remove themselves from the monster they're equipped to apply an effect. Hornet allows you to target a monster on the field, or target a card on the field, and destroy it, and it remove itself. And Ladybug allows itself to remove itself from the field, to target a monster, and increase its level by up to 2. So you can target any monster, it doesn't have to be the one it's equipped to, you can increase the level by 1 or 2. We're playing one Renaissance Insect and 1 Scary Moth to search off of the Renaissance Insect. You basically just equip this with Pico, and when it leaves the field, you get to search for Scary Moth, which is a floodgate. It says each player can only special summon a monster once per turn. We're playing 1 Cloak and 1 Boots. Boots to search from the Cloak, and the Boots allows us to search the Fogblade. We're sending either of these off of the Bardiche in the extra deck. I'm playing 9 Metalfoe monsters. I'm playing 6 low scales and 3 high scales. These are the ones I've opted to play. I'm playing this ratio because you want to open up with either Volflame or you want to open up with a low scale, so you can search a Volflame off your first combination and still keep your scales low and high, so you can pendulum summon at any point. You want to do this because Volflame is obviously the best Metalfoe monster because it's the biggest one for your pendulum summons on turn 3s, like go for game. And it's also a 7, which allows you to go for absolute dragon plays and then go into Vortex Dragon. For one-off spells, we're playing 1 Corbalgrave, needs to be banned, 1 Zecalibur, which you can search off the Centipede, it's an equip spell, and if it goes from the field to the graveyard, you get to target an Inzektor monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. I'm playing 1 Metalfoe's Fusion and 1 Parametalfoe's Fusion. I'm playing 1 of each. You probably only have to play 1, but there are some situations where you have like 2 Inzektor monsters or 2 Metalfoe monsters on the board you want to fusion off with, in which case you have to use Metalfoe's Fusion, because Parametalfoe's Fusion can only use up to 1 monster from either the hand, field, and or face-up extra deck. Parametalfoe's Fusion, I feel like, is the best one, because you do get to link off a Metalfoe's monster and then use that monster in the extra deck as fusion material, which just gives you more material to play about with. Playing Upstart Goblin, because I couldn't think of a 40th card, and playing 3 Zekstrike Kawu, which is the new Inzektor support card. It's very good. As a starter, as an extender, you can send one other Inzektor card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. Then you get to special summon an Inzektor monster from the deck, or you can equip an Inzektor monster to another Inzektor monster, or you get to equip an Inzektor equip spell like Zecalibur from your deck to that monster. I'm playing 3 Metalfoe's Combination. If you don't know what this card does, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add a Metalfoe's monster from your deck to your hand. That effect is not once per turn, so you can use Dragonfly, equip a Hornet, use one of your Metalfoes to pop the Hornet, set combination, Dragonfly will summon Centipede, Centipede can equip the Hornet, and then Hornet can pop the combination to search you another Metalfoe's card, and then you get to do it all over again with another Dragonfly you search off the Centipede. We're also playing 2 Fogblades. They're for the Bardiche, obviously. You could potentially play the monster that summons itself, Shade Brigadine. However, because you're playing the Metalfoe's cards, you do tend to have Metalfoe's Combination in your graveyard, which means you can't use it on the first turn. But sometimes you don't go through Metalfoe's line, you just go through an Inzektor line. So maybe you could play Shade Brigadine in a different list, but I'm opting not to. In the extra deck, we're playing 1 full Metalfoe's Alcest and 1 Mithrilium. Alcest is a quick effect 1000 dice restrict during your opponent's turn. It's a very good way of removing monsters. I feel like, especially in this meta, when A lot of decks just want to get to Hulk as quickly as possible, and you can just like snatch their tuner if they don't have access to another one. They just can't make Hulk, and you tend to have more than just Outcast on field, so you can snatch a tuner, even if they get another tuner on. They've had to use an extender, so they can't play through negation as well. Frillium allows itself to shuffle 2 Metalfoe's cards in your graveyard back into the deck, and you target a card on the field and you return it to the hand. This is very good for bouncing like your Metalfoe scales, so you can reuse them. Also put in combination back into the deck, so you can extend further with more Metalfoes and more like popping of the Inzektor cards. And also when it gets sent from the field to the graveyard, so when it's linked off, when it's popped by an Inzektor card, when it's popped by a Metalfoe, you get a special summon a Metalfoe from the graveyard, which comes up when you use Parametalfoe's Fusion to send a Metalfoe's monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. You can then special summon it back with the Bethrillium, and then you can go into lines where you overlay Four Flames for, where is he? Absolute Dragon, like I said earlier. We're playing a suite of XZ monsters, so I'm playing Abyss Dweller. It's obviously very good. We're playing Gold Drivers, which can overlay into it, and the Ladybug increases levels, so you can also just up the levels of your Centipedes and your Dragonflies to make Dweller. We're playing one Levier. You are playing an Armor Horn, which means you can, after you've used the effect to extra normal summon and it's in the graveyard after you've linked it off, you can banish like 2 of your insect monsters, say Dragonfly and a Resonance Insect. You can then make Levier, and you can special summon back the Dragonfly, and you can keep going from there. We have a Cicada King. Not only is this card a negation, and not only is it a rank 3, so it's easy to get to, and it's an insect, which means you can make it even if you get stuck on Armor Horn. When it negates, you're allowed to change the position of a insect monster on the field, and when his position changes, you get to special summon an insect monster from your grave from your hand, which allows you to keep the Scary Moth in your hand instead of pendulum summoning it out, which means you can extend further after the pendulum summon and then just summon the Scary Moth in your opponent's turn after you negate with the Cicada King. One Absolute Dragon, you know what this card does. We make it and we link it off and we make a Vortex Dragon, which is an Omni Negate. One Breaksword, it's removal going second. You can make it next to a Bardiche, pop itself, and you can bring it back with a Fog Blade to get a Bardiche pop in your opponent's turn. Access Code Talker, OTKs. Appaloosa, it's a Floodgate. You sit there with like 2,400 attack or 3,200 attack and like 3 or 4 negates, and it's very good. And your opponent has to like deal with it in really weird ways, which often leads them with less cards to deal with the rest of the board. One Armor Horn, it's an extra normal summon for insects. It special summons itself back. It's really good. Open Masquerainer and Unicorn, just for extra like interruptions. One Pico, which is especially good in this deck, is very good in B-Trooper, but it's also just brilliant in this deck, being able to equip a Hornet to a Dragonfly or a Ladybug if you can get to it, and you just get to keep going. It's also Digusto Emerald, and you can shuffle back like all of your Centipedes to keep summoning them off the Dragonflies. Like you can often have hands where you're summoning Centipede 6 to 9 times a turn, and it's just absolutely mad. Unicorn we've already talked about, and Rusty Bardiche, which is just gets you to so much interruption. It can like possibly be 3 interruptions on its own. It's normally free to make because you're normally just summoning the Pico back with like a Giga, and yeah, you feel good about it. This probably isn't the best way to play the deck. It is the jankiest way of playing the deck, which is why I'm playing the deck this way, because I enjoy jank. A lot of people play Infernal Arms, and I think it's Infernoble Knight Oliver in the deck, because this card removes itself from the field to search for a Infernoble monster, or a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior monster. So you could equip this like a Dragonfly, it removes itself, you search a Garnet, and then Dragonfly summon Centipede, which is pretty good. I've been thinking about playing Punks in this. I feel like if you're playing Punks, you're probably going to play it in a better deck than Inzektors, but just for fun, I feel like you could definitely play Punk in this deck. Like, going from an E-Telly line to a Zayaman, Foxy Toon, Summon Deerno, go into Chaos Ruler, mill 5 cards, everything in the deck is essentially dark, so you're almost always going to hit like a Centipede or a Dragonfly that you can add to your hand, and then normal, or the Hornets and the Ladybugs, which you can send to the graveyard for when you normal summon your Dragonflies and Centipedes. And you could also just overlay the Zombie Vampire with the Foxy Toon, which allows you to mill an extra 4 cards and potentially mill the Centipedes and the Dragonflies to then summon off the effect of the Vampire, which is pretty good. And obviously B-Trooper cards are pretty good, and just summoning this off the Leg 4 B-Trooper or searching off the Resonance Insect and getting to a counter trap, pretty good for playing like around Dark Ruler. Obviously Flying Sting can't negate Dark Ruler, but it allows you to have like 2 Fog Blades and the Flying Sting, so if you get Dark Rulered or you get Forbidden Droplets, you still have like 2 or 3 interruptions to hit your opponent with. Without further ado, we're going to get straight into the combos. The first one's going to be the pure Inzektor combo, and we're going to start off with Dragonfly, Ladybug, and a random discard, which is going to be the Metalfoe's combination. So we're going to start off by normal summoning our Inzektor Dragonfly, and we're going to use the effect to equip the Ladybug. The Ladybug's going to remove itself, increasing the level of Dragonfly, and Dragonfly is going to trigger to summon the Centipede. Centipede's then going to equip the Ladybug and remove itself, increasing its level, and you're going to search for another Dragonfly. At this point, we're going to link off for an Armor Horn, who's going to bestow us with an extra normal summon for another Dragonfly, who's going to do the exact same thing, equip the Ladybug, remove the Ladybug, and then Dragonfly is going to summon a Centipede. Centipede can then do the exact same thing it did previously, equip the Ladybug, remove the Ladybug, and we get to go for a search. In this case, we are going to go for Zektrite Kawu, and we're going to use that card to send the Centipede and summon the third Dragonfly from the deck. Dragonfly can then equip the Ladybug again, remove itself, summon the third Centipede, which will then use its effect and increase its level, remove it, and it's going to get a search for a Giga Weevil. At this point, we're going to use the Centipede and the Armor Horn to go into a Pico Philenia, and that's going to allow us to discard a random card to equip a Hornet to the Dragonfly, and then we'll use Pico's second effect to shuffle back all three Centipedes into the deck and get a draw. In this case, I'm just going to add a combination to hand, just it's a random card, it doesn't matter. We're then going to use the Giga Weevil to equip to one of the Dragonflies, and then Hornet the Giga Weevil, which allows us to trigger both the Dragonflies and the Giga Weevil to summon back a Dragonfly, and the two Dragonflies will summon two Centipedes from the deck. At this point we have a lot of material but nowhere to summon cards, so we're going to link off the Pico and two of the used Dragonflies go to Appaloosa, use the Centipede to equip the Ladybug, send the Ladybug, and get a search. So we're going to search for the other Giga that we didn't search. We'll then use the Dragonfly to equip the Hornet, and we'll equip the Giga Mantis to one of the Centipedes. This allows us to trigger the Dragonfly and the Centipede, and the Giga. Giga summons back the Pico, the Centipede is going to search as Excalibur, and the Dragonfly is going to summon the third Centipede, well I guess technically the sixth. We can then link the Pico and one of the spent Centipedes for a Rusty Bardiche, and we can use the effect to send Cloak. In this case, you might see him sending Metalfoe's Fusion. At this point, I forgot to put Cloak in the deck, but you understand. And then we're going to banish the Metalfoe's Fusion, such as Boots. We can then summon the Boots, since we control a Phantom Knight monster, and we can overlay it with the Dragonfly for a copy of Breaksword. We will then use the Bardiche effect to pop the Breaksword, and the Boots effect to search the Fogblade. We're doing this so when we get a Fogblade in graveyard, we can bring back the Breaksword and summon it to Bardiche's zone to pop a monster opponent controls. We're then going to use Centipede, we're going to grab Ladybug, and we're going to increase its level by 1, and we are going to search Inzektor Kawu for next turn. We're then going to do the exact same thing, increasing level, but this time we're going to search for a Hornet, since we don't really have many other monsters in the deck to grab. And then we're going to overlay for an Abyss Dweller. So the end board we have here is 3 negates on our Appaloosa. We have the potential for a pop with the Breaksword in the graveyard. And on top of that, we have 2 copies of Fogblade and an Abyss Dweller, which is going to flood our opponent out for a turn. Ooh, did not mean to press play there. And that's all for that combo. We're then going to go on to the second combo, which is an Inzektor Metalfoe combo. It's a 3-card combo, and it is Inzektor Dragonfly, Hornet, and Gold Driver. There are variations you can do with this being a Centipede, because you get to go through the spell to summon the Dragonfly. It's a little bit different because you end up with less monsters in decks, so you probably go for a weaker board, but it's still going to be a very strong board, and this is like the best sort of opening you can have. So I just want to show off the ceiling of this deck. So we're going to start with normal summoning a Dragonfly and equipping the Hornet. We're then going to activate the Gold Driver in our scale, and we're going to pop the Hornet and set a combination to our field. This is going to trigger the Dragonfly since the monster left, and we'll summon Centipede. Centipede will equip the Hornet, and the Hornet will pop the combination. This triggers both the Centipede and the combination. The combination will grab us the Volflame, and the Centipede will grab us the second copy of Dragonfly. We'll then link for the Armor Horn as we did in the previous combo, allowing us to have an extra normal summon of the Dragonfly. We can then set the Volflame and grab the Hornet, and use the Volflame to pop the Hornet, setting another copy of combination. This will of course trigger the Dragonfly, which allows us to summon Centipede, which will then equip the Hornet, and the Hornet will of course pop the combination, allowing us to get another Metalfoe from hand and another Inzektor card from deck. So we'll search another Volflame, and we'll search the Zektrike. We'll then use the Zektrike to send the Centipede and summon a copy of Dragonfly. Dragonfly will, of course, equip the Hornet, and this time we're going to pop the right-hand scale so we can activate the other Volflame. Centipede will grab the Hornet. This time we're going to use the Hornet to pop the Dragonfly because because the Metalfoe card is more important to pop something else later down the line, and we don't really need the extra material of the Dragonfly. Centipede is going to search as a Gigamantis. We're going to link off the Centipede and the Armor Horn to go into Pico. We're going to discard a random card and equip the Resonator Insect, and then we're going to shuffle back our 3 Centipedes like we did in the previous combo so we can access them with Dragonflies again later. They're going to activate the Volflame, and we're going to pop the Resonance Insect to set the 3rd copy of combination from the deck. Of course, triggering Dragonfly and Resonance Insect, allowing us to grab Scary Moth, and allowing us to summon one of the Centipedes we just shuffled back. We can then use the Centipede to equip the Hornet, and equip the Gigamantis to the Dragonfly. This allows us to trigger both the Centipede, the Dragonfly, and the Gigamantis, which allows us to summon another Dragonfly from the graveyard, the Centipede from deck, and add the 2nd Giga from deck. We can then use the spent Inzektor monsters and the Pico to go into a 3-mana Appaloosa. We can then use the Dragonfly effect to equip the Hornet, and put the Giga Weevil also on the Dragonfly, which allows us to summon 2 more monsters from the deck, and the Giga Weevil will summon the Pico from the graveyard. So we'll summon Centipede and Hornet, because since we're out of Centipedes. We'll then use the Hornet to equip Hornet, Hornet to pop the combination to get a search for the 3rd Volflame. We will then use the Centipede effect to equip the Hornet to pop the Volflame in our scale, so we have room to put the Volflame in, and the Centipede will grab Zecalibur. We will then link off the Pico and the Hornet for a Rusty Bardiche. We'll equip the Zecalibur to the Dragonfly and pop it with the Volflame. This will allow us to set Parametalfoe's Fusion, trigger the Dragonfly to summon from deck, and trigger the Zecalibur. In this case, we don't actually want to summon from the Dragonfly. This was a bit of a misclick. I got a little bit confused. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, so you can allow me. So I summoned this Ladybug from the deck, switched with the Hornet, because I'm thinking, oh, I need a 3, and I drew it. But it's not actually the case. We're just going to put the Hornet back in hand and throw the Ladybug back in the deck, because we don't actually want to summon off this, because we want the room. We're then going to overlay our Centipede and our Dragonfly for a Cicada King. And then we're going to pen summon 2 Volflames from our extra deck. We can then use the Centipede and the Volflame to go into an IP Masquerena, and then we can Parametalfoe's Fusion with the Volflame in hand and the Volflame in extra deck to special summon an Alcahest. One of those Volflames should have gone to extra deck, but I'm bad with pendulums. Next, we get to use the Rusty Bardiche effect to send the Boots. We can banish the Boots, and we can grab another copy of Fogblade. So here's the end board. We have a 3-mana Appaloosa, which is 3 negates, so you can't be mad at that. We have an IP Masquerena, which is going to allow us to go into Unicorn on our opponent's turn to be able to shuffle something away. We have the Cicada King, which is not only a negate, as I mentioned previously. When it negates, we can change the battle position of one of our insect monsters, and when his position is changed, we get to special summon the Scary Moth from our hand to our opponent's side of the field. Keeping the Scary Moth in hand means if our opponent has Droplet, they have to Droplet exactly 3. Like, they have to hit the Appaloosa, they probably have to hit the Alcahest, and they probably have to hit the Cicada King, which leaves the IP. If they hit everything and they leave, like, the Alcahest, then you still have 3 disruptions. So keeping this in hand is pretty good for, like, trying to play around Droplet. Like, if your opponent doesn't understand that Cicada King could potentially summon the Scary Moth you search very early in your combo and they may have forgotten about, then, you know, maybe it's kind of protection from Dark Ruler and Droplets in that way, but maybe not. We also have the Alcahest, which, as I previously mentioned, is a quick effect 1000 dice restrict, which is very good against a lot of decks. And we have 2 Fogblades, which isn't too bad. We also only started with 3 cards in hand, so we do have another 2 cards in hand, which could be, I don't know, extenders. If you build the deck better, you could probably have hand traps and going second cards, but I didn't think to put any of those in because, well, it was a combo deck, and it's a jank combo deck at that. This isn't very competitive. But yeah, that's everything. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and one more thing. If you're interested in seeing Punk Inzektor on the channel at any point, let me know, and I'll theorize it and see if it's any better than this. It probably is, to be honest.